What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 43. We have Vieira going against Miesha Tate, and it may not be the best main event in the world, but I feel like the card's pretty good. I feel like the card is going to deliver a lot of fights that I'm looking forward to see, and I think it's a great card from a betting perspective as well. I have 16 bets already on a Tuesday. I have a bet on every single fight outside of the Natan Levy Rafael Garcia fight, but yeah, looking to definitely bounce back from last week. The picks were okay for a card like that, 7-4, not great, but man, that was a really weird card. Didn't have a ton of action. I kept it really light, but what it did come down to was Moises. I had him in a parlay with Max Holloway. If that would have hit, would have been a winning night, but man, was I wrong about that, and I definitely got a lot of crap for that. I wasn't expecting it. Usually when I get a pick wrong, I'm like, oh, I could see that. Like I had Ben Rothwell last week. DeLima knocked him out round one. I was like, okay, yeah, I can understand that. But Alvarez went out there and just starched Moises on the feet, and it was weird. I think that was like Alvarez's first knockout. That wasn't like a TKO. I think he had like one or two TKOs mixed in there. Other than that, it's all submissions. So, sometimes you just got to admit when you're wrong, and my goodness, I was wrong. But I cannot wait to bounce back here at UFC Vegas 43. Looking forward to it a lot. Have a ton of action on this card. And, should be a fun card. I do want to point out the winner from last week's contest. This was a tough one. Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez combined for 389 strikes. And I said, okay, if somebody gets it on the dot like the week before, I'm going to double the prize to $50. And yeah, shout out to Boris. Boris got it done. 389 was his guess. He got it right on the dot. I gave him his $50. Yeah, shout out to him. I'll be doing more contests like that in the future. Probably the first card back in December. This one, I'm not going to do a contest. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be interested in a contest that has to deal with Qileng Vieira, Miesha Tate, but we'll be doing that again in the near future there. And this is a card where I'm picking a ton of dogs. So the people that always get mad at me, oh, you're only picking 2-3 dogs. What are you doing? Those people are going to love this. I'm picking like over half my picks are underdogs. And on top of that, if you do disagree with the pick, because there's going to be a ton of disagreement, I'm going against a lot of popular picks here. That's fine. I mean, some people get like really mad if you are going the opposite way. We can agree to disagree. But I'm going to be picking a ton of dogs this week. So I cannot wait to get into it. Cannot wait to break this down. And I say we do so before we get started. If you guys can please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. That'd be much, much appreciated. I'll be going live Friday after the weigh-in, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And then Saturday once more, 1 hour prior to the prelims for best bets. So, excuse me. I said we get started here with the first fight of the night. We have Luana Pinheiro going against Sam Hughes. We have Pinheiro, 27 years old, 5'4", with a 62-inch reach, 9-1, and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Her very first loss was the first fight of her career, I believe. Sam Hughes, she is 29 years old, 5'5", with a 64.5-inch reach, 5-3, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we do see that Pinheiro is a huge favorite. She's actually the biggest favorite on the card, believe it or not. Opening up minus 185, she's currently minus 400. Sam Hughes opening up plus 160. She's now plus 330. So, yeah, we know what happened with Luana Pinheiro in her very first fight in her UFC debut against Randa Marcos. She was looking pretty good. I was really impressed with Pinheiro against Randa there. She was able to take her down 5 times. She was kind of like throwing her around the cage. It was pretty cool to watch. Randa Marcos is definitely no slouch. I know she just got cut today, but it was pretty impressive that she went out there, outlanded Marcos, and took her down that much. As far as Sam Hughes, there's a big, giant hole in her game, and that's going to be the takedown defense. She has a 44% takedown defense through 2 fights. Luma Lukeboomi, the Muay Thai striker, took her down 4 times very easily, and then Tecia Torres took her down once in that first round as well. So I kind of feel like I don't understand the line, but at the same time, I kind of do. Pinheiro, very good judo. Her judo's phenomenal. She can get fights down to the mat pretty easily. I don't think it's going to be a problem here with Sam Hughes. The only problem with Pinheiro is going to be the gas tank. I mean, she has not seen the second round in over 7 fights. It's been a while, and when she has got out of that first round, she does slow down a lot as the fight goes on, and it looked like in the Marcos fight, she was slowing down a little bit after that, later in that first round. So if Sam Hughes can survive that first round, it could start to get very, very sketchy, especially considering Pinheiro's minus 400, which is just nuts. But as far as a pick, I'm going to go Luana Pinheiro. I'm going to take her to win by first round finish. I think she does get Sam Hughes out of there. Tisha Torres was able to get that, technically a first-round finish with that cut stoppage. And Sam Hughes has also been submitted before as well. So give me Luana Pinheiro, first-round finish. But if she does not get that first-round finish, I think it's going to get very sketchy very, very fast. So give me Pinheiro for the win. To start out the night, next we have Shalion Nuerdanbieke going against Sean Soriano. We have Sean Soriano. He is 32 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach. 14-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Shalion Nuerdanbieke, 27 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 19-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We see that Sean Soriano opened up -225, is currently -285, and Shalion is -185, and he opened up +190, and he's now +245. So, yeah, I don't know who's playing Sean Soriano at this price tag, but that is just absolutely nuts considering you take a look at this matchup and what has Sean Soriano struggled with throughout his career. Well, he makes his first UFC debut back in like 2014. He goes 0-3 in the UFC back then. 2 of those losses coming by submission, 1 by decision. And you kind of take a look at how he's losing those fights, and it's people are taking him down, and people are submitting Sean Soriano without much resistance. Through 4 UFC fights, he has a 53% takedown defense. Even Chaz Kelly was able to take him down 4 times and then grind him out to a decision back in 2014. But with that said, he did take a bunch of years off in terms of the UFC. Got some fights on the regional scene, and then they actually bring him back against Christos Giagos back in May, and kind of the same thing. He looks good early, but he slows down a ton as the fight goes on, and then Christos Giagos takes him down 3 times, and Giagos actually submits him. So 4 fights in the UFC for Sean Soriano, and all 4 of them have to do with him getting taken down, either submitted or controlled for 3 rounds. And what does Shalion do? This guy's a wrestler, and yes, he made his UFC debut against Josh Kulabau. Did not really make a good account for himself. He won the first round, but he didn't really do much with the takedowns. He got him down twice, but he basically held Kulabau against the cage for the whole first round, which was impressive. Then the second round comes around, and he kind of slows down as the fight goes on. But yeah, Shalion, is a wrestler, a pretty solid wrestler. His grappling is decent. Apparently, he's a black belt in BJJ. I saw that. I was like, what? Is he really? But yeah, I guess he's a black belt in BJJ. So he's the type of guy, I know he's not skilled, but he's the type of guy that can present some problems to Sean Soriano. The striking advantage is going to be Sean Soriano all day. It's just, Sean Soriano does slow down a ton as the fight goes on. And if Shalion is able to, implement some takedowns here, which I think he will, that's what he does, I think he can exploit that takedown defense and maybe even get a submission here. So, yeah, I think I'm going to be one of the only few people out here picking Shalion outright at +245. Probably one of my bigger dogs I've ever picked, because when I typically pick a fighter, I don't want to pick him based off of value. I want to pick winners. And I'm going to pick Shalion outright here to win, and I'm going to take him to win by submission. Could a Sean Soriano knock out Shalion early? Potentially, but man, there's just such a big hole in the game of Sean Soriano, and that's what Shalion does. But with that said, Shalion's not good. He's not good at all, but I just don't understand why he's +245 here. So give me Shalion to win. Give me him to win by like a second round submission, and I think Sean Soriano goes 0-5 in the UFC and eventually gets cut. But yeah, really looking forward to this fight. The line makes no sense to me, but we'll see what happens there. Give me Shalion by second round sub. Big dog. And we're going to continue the dog streak here. We have Archie Long going against Cody Durden. And we have Archie Long, who is, if I can find it, Archie Long is 20 years old, 5'7", with a 69.5-inch reach, 18-8 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Cody Durden, 30 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach, 11-3 and 1 and 1-1 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we do see that Archie Long opened up +125. He's currently +145. Cody Durden opened up -145. He's currently -170. So yeah, you take a look at Archie Long, and he's a guy that really impressed me in his UFC debut. He went out there against Jeff Molina. He did get beat, and he got beat by decision. But if you go back and watch that fight, it was actually a lot closer than some people might think. He went out there. He clearly won the first round, which was awesome to see. And the second round was really close up until there's like 2 minutes left in the second round, and then eventually we saw that Molina dropped Archie Long. And then it was competitive for the next couple minutes after that, and then Molina drops him again in the second round. Archie Long ends up losing that second round, and then the third for sure. But yeah, going back to the first round, Archie Long Molina outlands Archie Long 18-17, but Archie Long is able to get a takedown and control Molina for 1 minute and 44 seconds of that fight, or round. All three judges give the first round to Archie Long. And the second round comes along. The total numbers are Molina 44 to Archie Long 42, but Molina did drop him twice, like I said. And then round 3 comes along, and Molina puts on an absolutely crazy pace against Archie Long, 127 significant strikes to 57 of Archie Long. So Archie Long did slow down as the fight went on, and Molina just completely outpaced the guy, and rightfully so. Molina is a beast. You take a look at Cody Durden. He is 0-2 thus far in the UFC. He had a draw. Well, he's not 0-2. He's 1-1. He's 0-1-1. He had that draw with Chris Gutierrez. I really don't agree with that draw. He took down Chris Gutierrez in the first round, controlled him for the first round, but he just didn't do really anything with that takedown. But, it was a draw nonetheless. And then he gets submitted by Jimmy Flick with a nice triangle choke there. So, yeah, it's a very close fight. I was a little bit higher on Archie Long earlier in the week, but the more I look into it, I think this is going to be a very close fight because Durden's striking is not as bad as I really thought. I went back and watched some of his fights. His striking is pretty decent, throws with a lot of power, but I do favor Archie Long in terms of the striking. Archie Long does a really good job of cutting off the cage. He's coming forward nonstop. I think he throws harder as well than Durden, but Durden has that wrestling. And I go back, I spent like 2 hours on this fight. It was crazy. I watch every single fight I can of Archie Long. I watch every single fight I can of Durden, and what I look for in Archie Long is how good is this guy's takedown defense. His offensive wrestling is actually phenomenal, but his defensive wrestling, I didn't see much of it. I saw him get taken down like maybe once or twice, and he was able to get up both those times. But yeah, if Durden can take down Archie Long, especially early, maybe Durden can get him out of there with a sub, but I think Archie Long's going to have the cardio advantage, the striking advantage, and I'm actually going to take an upset here with Archie Long to knock out Cody Durden. I'm going to say second or third round. So yeah, taking another dog here in Archie Long. We'll see what happens, but give me Archie Long for the win. All right, next we have Terrence McKinney going against Fares Ziam. We have Terrence McKinney, who is 27 years old, 5'10", with a 74-inch reach, 11-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Fares Ziam, 24 years old, 6'1", with a 75-inch reach, 12-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds, and it is a straight pick'em. McKinney opened at -180, he's now -110. Ziam opened up +155, he's currently -110. So yeah, McKinney came in and had a phenomenal UFC debut. I mean, you can't really do it much better than that. When he went out there and knocked out Matt Frevola, I think it was like one of the very first punches he landed, puts him out in 7 seconds. And it just shows you kind of a little bit about Terrence McKinney. That's kind of what he does. He goes out there, he gets in, and he gets out, whether he's winning or he's losing. I mean, take a look at some of these numbers here for his fight. So he makes his UFC debut, wins in about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. After that, wins in 1:23. After that, 1:39. After that, 43 seconds. Then he loses a leg injury in 39 seconds in the first round. After that, a 7-second win, a 2 minute and 57-second win, a 43-second win, and then against Sean Woodson, he goes into round 2, and he loses that fight by a flying knee in a fight where he was actually winning the first round against Sean Woodson, and then he ends up slowing down a little bit, and then he gets a flying knee right in the face and gets knocked out there. And then he goes in there, gets submitted by Derek Minner in 1 minute by triangle choke. Then he wins in 16 seconds, 17 seconds, 1:12, and then 7 seconds against Matt Frevola. So this is a guy that gets in and he gets out. He's been to the second round twice. He's been to the third round once. He's never been over the 2.5 round mark. And it's just the style of fight that he brings. He's a really good wrestler, has a wrestling background, and he's dangerous. He's very dangerous. As far as Ziam, he's like the complete opposite of Terrence McKinney. He's somebody that kind of likes to stick on the outside, outpoint his opponents, and he's done decent at that as of late. He went out there, outpointed Luigi Vendramini. Vendramini was not able to implement takedowns, and it kind of was easy for Fares Ziam, at least for the first 2 rounds, to just kind of outpoint Luigi there. Luigi eventually gets him down in the third. It looks like he might have hurt Ziam in that third round as well, and then Ziam loses that third round. It was almost a 10-8. But yeah, the judges did give Ziam the win there. Against Jamie Mullarkey, Ziam outlands Mullarkey 47-20, but Mullarkey does take Ziam down 5 times, controls him for 7 minutes. I personally had the fight for Mullarkey, but they gave it to Ziam. In his UFC debut, he loses to Dom Madge. Dom Madge takes him down 3 times, and Dom Madge controls him for about 10 minutes. So to be honest, I've been extremely unimpressed with Fares Ziam thus far in the UFC. And I actually like Terrence McKinney in this fight. I think Terrence McKinney can definitely mix in some takedowns. We saw Luigi take him down. We saw Mullarkey take him down. We saw Dom Madge take him down. McKinney's a really good wrestler. His grappling's good as well. I think McKinney has like 4 or 5 submissions on his record. I think a submission's live. And then on the feet, yes, Ziam's probably the better striker, but McKinney's the more dangerous striker. So I'm going to take McKinney to win. I'm going to take McKinney to win by first-round submission. Ziam's been submitted like twice in his career, and I think McKinney does get Ziam out of there, and I think he gets him out of there early as well. So give me Terrence McKinney for the win, first-round sub. All right, yeah, I have a lot to say about this fight here. We have Luma, Lukeboomi going against Lupita, Godinez. Really looking forward to this fight. We have Lupe Godinez, 28 years old, 5'2", with a 61-inch reach, 6-2, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Luma Lukeboomi, 25 years old, 5'1", with a 62-inch reach, 6-2, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we see that Lupe opened up -110. She is now -170. Loma Lukeboomi opened up -110. She's now +145. So yeah, Lupe Godinez is somebody that I'm pretty high on, but Loma especially, I've been so high on Loma Lukeboomi. I bet her in her last 2 fights against Jin Yu Fry. I bet her against Sam Hughes. This is somebody that I'm really high on, somebody that I've really been hyping up, if you will, her last couple fights. Lupe, I was probably like the only people out there that was actually picking Lupe outright against Luana Carolina. Lupe, she fought the week prior. She got a very, easy win against Silvana Gomez Juarez by submission. She looked dominant, and then she comes back a week later against Luana Carolina, and I picked Carolina in that fight, but I think we have to seriously cut Lupe some slack here. I mean, she goes in a week later. She comes up a weight class and fights a much, much bigger Luana Carolina, who on paper says she's 5'6", but, she looked a lot bigger than 5'6". She looked a lot bigger than Lupe Godinez, and Godinez actually weighed in at 121 pounds. And she was just so much smaller. Like, it was a terrible matchup for Lupe. And on top of that, I know a lot of people think Carolina's a bum, but she's not. She's really not a bum. And she has an 88% takedown defense. So not only is she much, much bigger, much heavier, but she also has a phenomenal takedown defense. Like, it was a horrible matchup for Lupe. Of course she's going to lose. And then now she's coming back down a weight class, and it looks like a lot of the hype is off of Lupe here, and she's going to be fighting somebody that is more so her size, and she's actually going to be bigger than Loma, which, Lupe's usually not bigger than anyone. So yeah, I actually really like Lupe in this spot quite a bit, because you take a look at Luma Lukeboomi, and she's getting taken down in pretty much every fight. She got taken down by Alexander Albu. She got taken down by a striker in Angela Hill. She got taken down by Jin Yu Fry, who I'm not high on. And then when Jin Yu Fry was able to take down Loma, she was able to control her for 2 minutes and 34 seconds of that round, so I did not like that. And then in the Sam Hughes fight, this is what really scares me for Loma, is Sam Hughes controls Luma for 6 minutes and 34 seconds and actually takes a round off of Loma. Sam Hughes controls Loma for 3 minutes and 2 seconds in that second round. And she also controls Loma for 2 minutes and 19 seconds in that round 3. And I had a bet on Loma, and I was terrified. But Loma ends up winning 29-28. Lupe, she's very strong. She's a phenomenal wrestler. She's averaging 4.38 takedowns per 15 minutes. She was 2 for 15 on takedowns against Carolina, but like I said, Carolina, her takedown defense is phenomenal. She's much, much, much bigger, not in the same weight class, so I don't think we can look at that fight too much. But I think if Lupe comes in here with the game plan that she had against Carolina, attempting 15 takedowns, and on top of that, Lupe controlled Carolina for over half the fight, 7 minutes and 37 seconds. That's so impressive to me. If she comes here with that game plan against Loma, I think she wins. She's the much better grappler than Loma. I think if she gets on top, she can give Loma some serious problems, because it's going to be the best grappler that Loma has fought yet, and by a pretty significant margin as well. So yeah, I like Lupe here. I'm actually going to kind of a bold take here. I'm going to take Lupe to win by submission. Loma has been submitted before, and I think if Lupi does get Loma down, I think a submission can come. So yeah, give me a Lupi Godinez, and give me Lupi Godinez to win by submission. Really looking forward to this fight. I think a lot of people are low on Lupi now, which is crazy because she lost to Carolina, but it was up a weight class, and Carolina's huge and has good takedown defense. So yeah, give me Lupi here, and I really like her in the spot. All right, yeah, this is probably the toughest fight to call on the entire card. We have Rafa Garcia going against Natan Levy. Yeah, kind of been... At first, I thought I was potentially going to, maybe it's a buy low spot on Rafa Garcia. He screwed a lot of people over, and I was potentially looking to, back him here, maybe fade Natan Levy. But after getting into the tape, Levy's actually pretty good. He's 30 years old. Levy is 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. He's 6-0. And obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Rafa Garcia, 27 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 12-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we see that Rafa Garcia opened up plus 130. He's now minus 130, which is interesting. Natan Levy opened up minus 150. He's now plus 110. So it looks like I'm going to be picking another dog here in Natan Levy. Interesting line movement there. I mean, you take a look at Rafa Garcia. I thought he made a very good account for himself in his UFC debut against Nasrat Haqparast. He was able to, show a lot of toughness in there. He was able to have success at times against Haqparast, which, that was good. It was a good performance, especially on short notice. A lot of people thought Haqparast would knock him out, including me, and that did not happen. And then he goes in there against Chris Grutzmacher. I had a bet on Rafa Garcia in that fight. Close fight. Rafa Garcia clearly wins the first round. He hurts Grutzmacher very bad, very close to getting him out of there. And then Grutzmacher starts taking over as the fight goes on. Rafa Garcia is still able to implement takedowns. He took down Chris Grutzmacher in the second round, controls him for about 2 minutes, but Grutzmacher was really teeing off on him on the feet. And then in the third round, Rafa Garcia actually takes down Grutzmacher 2 times and controls him for 3 minutes and 6 seconds of that third round. But it is still not enough, but even then, it shouldn't have been close against Grutzmacher. I thought Rafa Garcia should have ran through him, but no, that was not the case. So now we have Natan Levy, who, again, I thought I would potentially look at fading here, but I can't. He's a black belt and Kung Fu. His grappling's good. He's actually really well-rounded, and he's 6-0. He's still green, but I really like what I see from the guy. The striking's solid. The wrestling's solid. The grappling's solid. Off his back, he's very good. He's active. He throws up submissions. Just a really well-rounded fighter. He looked good on the Contender Series, was able to go out there, implement a wrestling-heavy game plan, eventually get a submission in that third round. And he's shown some good cardio. I mean, there was a fight where he did slow down as the fight went on, but he's been 3 rounds before, and his cardio is pretty good, and he's going to have the cardio advantage here. But this is such a tough fight. Obviously, Garcia's fought the much better competition. It's really not even close. And Natan Levy's looking really good, but it's against, guys that aren't great. So I really don't know where Natan Levy's at. And I mentioned earlier that I have a bet on every single fight on this card, this besides one, and this is the one where I don't have a bet. So yeah, this is a big pass for me. I'm going to pick Natan Levy to get it done. I think the striking could be very close and competitive. Maybe Natan Levy can get on top of Garcia. We'll see how that looks there. And if Garcia does take down Natan Levy, Levy's very tricky off his back. So it's a close fight. I'll take Natan Levy by decision, but this is probably my least confident pick on the entire card. But it should be an interesting fight to watch. All right. Next, we have Tucker Lutz going against Patsabatini. Really looking forward to this one. Big fan of Patsabatini. We see that Patsabatini is 31 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach, 15-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Tucker Lutz, 27 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach, 12-1, and 5-1, 12-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Patsabatini opened at minus 150. He's now minus 140. Tucker Lutz opened up plus 130. He's now plus 120. So, yeah, Patsabatini, this guy's phenomenal. I'm very high on this guy. He went in there in his UFC debut. He beat Tristan Connolly, dominated him in the first 2 rounds. Kind of drops the third round a little bit, drops the ball there, but still great performance, dominant decision by Patsabatini. Then after that, his next fight against Jamal Emmers which was a close fight, a tough fight to call, because I felt like Emmers did have the tools to win here, but the Emmers fight IQ is just so bad, and that's kind of what showed in that fight. We saw that Emmers was teeing off on Patsabatini. Patsabatini gets hurt very, very bad. He flops to his back. Emmers follows him there. Heel hook. So, yeah, really bad fight IQ there for Emmers. A very winnable fight for him, but Emmers kind of dropped the ball there. But it just shows how dangerous Patsabatini is on the mat. This guy is a wizard on the mat. If this fight does hit the mat in any type of way, Tucker Lutz could very well be in trouble. On the Tucker Lutz side, this was a guy that I wasn't completely sold on. But, going back and watching this guy, I think he's the real deal. He's still very young in his career. He's very well-rounded. His striking's good. I actually really like his striking a lot. Throws a ton of volume. He's landed 5.09 significant strikes thus far in a 3-fight sample. And yeah, he's a good wrestler as well. He has a wrestling background. The thing with the whole wrestling background here, so Tucker Lutz wrestled in high school. And then Patsabatini, he wrestled in high school and as well in college. I believe Patsabatini wrestled D1, but, Tucker Lutz, I think his wrestling might be, about equal or maybe even better than Patsabatini's. I'm not all that impressed with Sabatini's wrestling. It's good, but, he went out there and struggled to take down a guy like Tristan Connolly. He was like 1 for 6 on takedowns in that fight. And, early on, Sabatini's wrestling looks good. It's just as the fight goes on, his wrestling, slows down a little bit. He slows down a little bit. Tucker Lutz, what I was looking for in his tape is, how good is this guy's takedown defense? Because offensively, his wrestling is really good. But defensively, I have seen him taken down. He got taken down twice in the Blackledge fight, but in both those times he was taken down, he was able to pop right back up. I think his get-up game is really good. His takedown defense is actually really good as well. And if this does stay on the feet, it's going to be Tucker Lutz all day. Tucker Lutz is going to have the volume advantage, the striking advantage, and we saw, Patsabatini's striking is a liability, especially in the Emmers fight, right? And even some other fights, like I'm not impressed with his striking. Like in the Connolly fight, he just looks kind of uncomfortable striking, and rightfully so. This guy's a wizard on the mat. He wants it on the mat. The problem is Patsabatini going to be able to take down Tucker Lutz? And if he takes him down, is he going to be able to hold him down? I don't know if Patsabatini is going to be able to do that. It's a close fight. If this fight hits the mat in any type of way, whether it's Tucker Lutz going for a takedown, which maybe he does, I wouldn't. Or if Patsabatini is able to take down Tucker Lutz, Sabatini is going to have a lot of success, maybe even find a submission here. But if Tucker Lutz can use that defensive wrestling, keep this on the feet, fight smart, keep it at range, and outpoint Sabatini, outstrike him for 3 rounds, I think that's a very, very liable path to victory there for Tucker Lutz. So I'm actually going to take the dog here in Tucker Lutz. It's going to be a very, very unpopular pick, and for a good reason. Patsabatini is a beast, but I think Tucker Lutz is a beast as well. And I think if he comes in here with a good game plan, unlike a Jamal Emmers, don't follow Sabatini to the mat, I think he can outstrike Sabatini for 3 rounds. I don't think he knocks him out, but give me Tucker Lutz to win this fight and win it by decision. Very good fight. Probably one of the best fights on the card, this one. All right, next we're going to move to the main card. We have Adrian Yanez going against Davey Grant. Looking forward to this one for sure. We have Adrian Yanez, is 27 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 14-3. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Davey Grant, 35 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 11-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Adrian Yanez is one of the biggest favorites on the card, opening up at minus 240. He's now minus 300. Davey Grant opening up plus 205. He is currently plus 250. So yeah, Adrian Yanez has been so impressive thus far in the UFC, but this is going to be a pretty good test for him, a very good test. He did battle some adversity in his last fight against Randy Costa. Costa was piecing him up in the first round, and Adrian Yanez showed that he is hittable at times for sure. Costa was able to outland him 57-33, and then Costa kind of slows down as the fight goes on. Yanez starts taking over, and then Yanez finishes him in the second there. Prior to that, he's going out there, he's finishing guys. He finished Gustavo Lopez, he finished Victor Rodriguez, and he finished Brady on the Contender Series as well. As far as Davey Grant, this guy's kind of had like a career reinsurgence, if you will. Like, this is a guy that was kind of early in his career in the UFC, losing to Damian Stasiak, losing to Manny Bermudez, losing to Chris Holdsworth. He did beat Marlon Vera, a very young Marlon Vera. But he's been on kind of a roll as of late, beating Gregory Papa by decision. He knocked out Martin Day in the 3rd round. He knocked out Jonathan Martinez in the 2nd round. And then he loses to Marlon Vera. No shame in that at all. We know how Marlon Vera is really good. But yeah, as far as this matchup goes, on the feet, for me, it's going to be Yanez all day. I know Davey Grant has had success against, a Martin Day, a Jonathan Martinez, which, by the way, the performance is really good. It's just, I think that Yanez is, the real deal in terms of his striking, and he's very well-rounded as well. I went back and watched some tape on Yanez. How good is this guy's takedown defense? The answer is very, very good. In the UFC, in like 3 or 4 fights thus far, I believe it's 100%, right? Yeah, 100% takedown defense for Yanez. And I went and watched his fight with Miles Johns, who we all know is a very good wrestler. He was able to stuff a lot of takedowns from Miles Johns. When he did get taken down, he was able to pop back up for the most part. A lot of people might not know this, but Adrian Yanez supposedly is a black belt in BJJ. We don't get to see that a lot. But if this fight does hit the mat, we have seen Davey Grant submitted like 4 times in his career. So I think that's just another path to victory for Adrian Yanez. But yeah, give me Yanez here. He's going to have the speed advantage, the volume advantage, the striking advantage. Maybe Davey tries to take him down, but it's not really something Davey's been doing as of late. Davey went out there. He didn't take down Martinez. He did take down Martin Day twice. He took down Marlon Vera, but it's not like something he's really trying to do. Looks like he kind of fell in love with his striking a little bit, and rightfully so. It's been looking good. I just don't know if that's going to work against Yanez. So, give me Yanez. He has the card advantage as well. I think it's a pretty solid spot for him. But it's a nice test. It's a very nice test here. But I do think he passes it. Give me Adrian Yanez to win. Give me Adrian Yanez to win by 3rd round knockout. I think he does get him out of there eventually. And Davey Grant's never been knocked out, but I think that does change here. All right, next we have Joanne Wood going against Taila Santos. It's going to be so weird calling Joanne Calderwood Wood, but we're going to do it anyway. We have Taila Santos, 28 years old, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach. 18-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Joanne Wood, 35 years old, 5'6", with a 65.5-inch reach. 15-6 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And Taila Santos opened up -180. She's currently -335. And Joanne Calderwood opened up +155, and she's currently +275. So everybody this week's going to say that line is off. And kind of a hot take on my part, but I'm probably going to be one of the very few people out there that's going to say, I think this line's accurate. I really do. And I think it could even be wider. I think Santos is absolutely the real deal. I tried to warn people last time when she fought Roxy. I was like, listen, do not go and watch the Mara Borella fight when taping this fight. Don't do it. You're going to get tricked into betting Roxanne Modafferi, and people bet Roxanne, and people brought up that fight in the breakdown. I was like, oh no, because that's not the same fighter. The Taila Santos that fought Mara Borella is not the same fighter at all. After that fight, she was talking about she had a ton of anxiety. It was her UFC debut, and that was the worst performance of her career. She's 19-1. 18-1. She's going to be 19-1, but she's 18-1, and that was the one time where she looked like really off. And then, people got tricked into betting Molly McCann, including me. I bet on Molly McCann. I bet her at like -110. She closed at like -190. And then she goes out there and whoops Molly McCann, taking her down 5 times, which surprised me. But it showed that she has really good wrestling, really good grappling, and she controlled Molly McCann for 7 minutes and 53 seconds of that fight. And I thought, okay, maybe that debut is just maybe a fluke there. And then she goes out there against Jillian Robertson, and she goes out there and controls a legit black belt, a very dangerous black belt. And Jillian Robertson takes her down once officially, but she controls her for 12 minutes and 47 seconds of a 15-minute fight. And then she goes and fights Roxy. I have a big play on Santos here. And she goes out there, she takes down Roxy 5 times, and she controls Roxy for 8 minutes and 3 seconds of that fight. Santos' striking looked really good, which most people do against Roxy, but still very impressive to me. She was one of the 2 fighters to ever drop Roxanne Modafferi as well, who's typically very tough, but Santos actually dropped her, hurt her bad there. So yeah, I've been very impressed with Taila Santos again. She had that hiccup against Mara Borella, but that is not the same fighter. If you watch that fight and compare it to the last 3 fights, it's a completely different fighter. So I'll warn everybody once again, when you're taping this fight, don't watch that fight. It'll trick you. It'll trick your eyes, and you'll be forced to maybe bet on Joanne Wood here. And I think a lot of people will. I think Wood's going to be a very popular play because you're going to look at Wood, and people are going to be like, who the heck is Taila Santos? Joanne Wood's been, fighting everybody in the division. But we got to think about it. Joanne Wood, she's 35 years old. I believe she's about to be turning 36, right? She turns 36 in December. That's not good. And on top of that, she's so inconsistent. Her takedown defense is sitting at 63%. Murphy took her down. I took her down. Lee took her down 3 times. Lipski took her down. Ferrara took her down. Calvillo took her down. Andrade took her down. Everybody's taking her down. So why can't Santos here? Santos' wrestling is phenomenal. Her grappling's phenomenal. Her control is phenomenal. Her gas tank's great. Her striking's definitely good. It's coming along. She throws with power. I do give Joanne Wood the striking advantage here, kinda. I think she's going to be landing more volume, but there's times where Wood's outlanding fighters pretty clearly, but the judges aren't scoring because she's she doesn't really hit hard. It's kind of more volume, less power, and I think Santos is going to be landing the harder shots. But yeah, I think it comes down to the takedown defense of Wood. It's 63%. She's now almost 36 years old. I think Santos comes out here and puts on a dominant performance with the takedowns, with the grappling. I just really struggle to find a path to victory for Joanne Wood. Yes, she's fought the much, much, much better competition, and it's not even close. But I think Santos is the real deal. So give me Santos to win by a very dominated, one-sided decision. If Santos forgets, how to wrestle, if she comes in here with a crappy game plan, yeah, Wood could very well win a striking fight here. But as long as Santos comes in here with a good game plan, I think it's a very good matchup for her. So give me Santos to win. The line is accurate, and give me her to win by decision. All right, next we have Rani Yahya going against Kang Ho Kong. And I broke this fight down a couple months ago. This fight was pulled off, I think, of the day of the fight due to Rani Yahya. I think either him or his corner tested positive for COVID. But we have Kang Ho Kong, 34 years old, 5'9", with a 73-inch reach, 17-8 and 4-1 in the last 5 fights. Rani Yahya, 36 years old, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach, 27-10 and 1 and 3-1-1. In his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Rani Yahya opened up at -130. He's now -102. Kang Ho Kong opened up -110. He's now -118. So, yeah, I'll keep this one kind of short. Kang Ho Kong's going to be the more well-rounded fighter. He's going to be the younger fighter. He's going to have the better cardio. I think all 3 of those are very important. Rani Yahya is a phenom on the mat. This is the guy that has, I want to say, 21 submissions, something crazy like that in 27 fights. The problem with that is that Kong's a good grappler in his own right. Kong has been submitted before, but he got submitted back in 2011, so it's been over 10 years. I think Kong's grappling is good enough to stay out of trouble here with Rani Yahya. If Yahya did submit him, would it surprise me? Not really, but I think it's a solid matchup here for Kang Ho Kong. He's going to have the striking advantage, like I said. He can keep this on the feet. He has very good takedown defense, 71% takedown defense. Rani Yahya, 33% takedown accuracy. If Kong fights smart here, keeps on the feet, I think it's a pretty easy, outpoint Rani Yahya for 15 minutes kind of fight. If he wants to take down Rani Yahya, he absolutely can. We see that Kong goes to takedowns quite a bit in his fights. He's a 59% takedown accuracy, which is phenomenal. And Rani Yahya does have a 24% takedown defense. But if you do that, you are playing with fire. But again, I think Kong is very confident in his grappling. So yeah, I think just Kong has a ton of paths to victory here. I think the line's actually decent. But, Rani Yahya, if he does win, I think it's going to be some type of submission. I really struggle to see Rani Yahya outstriking Kong for 3 rounds. I really see Rani Yahya implementing a wrestling-heavy game plan, taking down Kong left and right. I really struggle to see that as well. I think Kong's going to be the minute winner in this fight. And I'm going to say he does win a pretty concisive decision there. Maybe a 30-27, maybe 29-28. Maybe he does drop the first round. But give me Kang Ho Kong to win. Give me Kang Ho Kong to win by decision. All right, next we have the co-main event. Sean Brady, Michael Chiesa. Very high on Sean Brady. This kid is undefeated, and I'm really looking forward to him maybe passing this test here against Michael Chiesa. So Brady is 28 years old, 5'10" with a 72.5-inch reach, 14-0, obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Michael Chiesa, 33 years old, 6'1", with a 75-inch reach, 17-5 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Sean Brady opened up -140. He's currently -160. Michael Chiesa opened up +120. He's currently +140. I kind of expected that. Lots and lots of hype on Sean Brady. People very high on this guy, and rightfully so. And then on top of that, Michael Chiesa dropped the ball in his last fight. People are going to be very low on him. So yeah, this is a very interesting fight. You take a look at Sean Brady, and he hasn't fought the best competition in the world. He went out there in his UFC debut, had this was a close fight against Court McGee. Court McGee does get outlanded at 119 to 107. Court McGee does drop that the first round pretty clearly, but round 2 is very competitive. Court McGee actually outlands Sean Brady 38 to 33, and then round 3, Court McGee outlands Sean Brady 52 to 42. So a very competitive fight there. But yeah, Sean Brady clearly wins it. I scored it 29-28, but 2 of the judges gave Sean Brady 30-27s there. But yeah, close fight regardless, a lot closer than you'd think it should be. And then he goes out there and beats Ismail Nordardiev, who I'm personally kind of high on. He has been cut. I'm not sure why, but he went out there and beat a pretty tough guy in Ismail Nordardiev. And then he goes out there and submits Christian Aguilera, and then he goes out there and submits Jake Matthews. So yeah, he's looked good. He's looked pretty good thus far in the UFC. Michael Chiesa, though, he's fought the much better competition, and it's not even debatable. I mean, he's beating guys like Rafael dos Anjos. He's beating guys like Diego Sanchez, guys like Carlos Condit, Neil Magny, Beneil Dariush. He submitted Beneil Dariush. Who does that? Nobody. But Chiesa did it. He beat Jim Miller. He beat guys like Francisco Trinaldo, guys like that. Al Quinta back in the day. So he has fought the best of the best guys. He's losing to Vicente Luque. He's losing to Kevin Lee, Anthony Pettis, Joe Lozon, Jorge Masvidal. So the level of competition goes significantly in the favor of Michael Chiesa, and this is going to be the toughest test of Sean Brady's career by a mile, whereas for Chiesa, it's not going to be his toughest test because he has fought, killers like Luque, Kevin Lee, guys like that. So in terms of the striking, yeah, it's really close. I'm not overly impressed with Sean Brady's striking, but I think I will slightly give him the striking advantage here, but I think it's going to be very competitive. I give the wrestling advantage to Michael Chiesa. The grappling's competitive as well. Brady is a black belt in BJJ, and we do see that Chiesa's been submitted 4 times in his career. He got submitted by Vicente Luque last time out, which I hit a nice plus 1,400 prop on that. He got submitted by Anthony Pettis. He got submitted by Kevin Lee. He got submitted by Jorge Masvidal back in the day as well. So yeah, I think Brady, if Brady does win, I kind of think it'll be by submission. Because Michael Chiesa, his grappling's phenomenal. It's just there's points in a fight where he kind of makes one little mistake, and that one mistake is enough for his opponent to get him out of there. But I'm kind of thinking this is a tough fight to call because there's not a lot of information for Brady here. I went back and watched every fight I could with him, and I tried to see how good is Sean Brady's takedown defense. And on paper, it's 100%, but he's never fought anybody that's really going to try to take him down outside of Court McGee, who not the best wrestler in the world. This is going to be the best wrestler that Sean Brady's faced by a mile. And it would not shock me if Michael Chiesa went out there, was able to take down Sean Brady, control him, win minutes of this fight. Like Michael Chiesa, his takedowns are very good, averaging 3.62, a 53% takedown accuracy. And he's going out there and controlling, very, legit guys like a Neil Magny for 15 minutes, like an RDA. He went out there and controlled RDA for a massive 10 minutes in a 15-minute fight. Diego Sanchez, Carlos Condit, he's going out there and having success against these guys. Like I said, submitted Beneil Dariush, submitted Jim Miller. Those aren't easy to do. But yeah, it's a tough test for Brady. It's a very tough test, but if he passes this test, I'll be very impressed. I'll be very, very impressed. I'm actually going to take the dog here. A very unpopular pick this week. I'm going to take Michael Chiesa for the experience here. I think Uncle Weezy described it best on Stat Tickers, the show we do on Sunday. He said this is a show me spot for Sean Brady. You got to show me here that you are good enough to compete with these guys. And I know Michael Chiesa lost against Vicente Luque by submission, but that's Vicente Luque. I don't know if Sean Brady's on this level. Maybe he is, but we're going to find out now. And I'm getting Michael Chiesa at plus 140. I think I'm going to take a shot on that. But if you think Brady wins, Brady by submission could be something to look at, but I think the minute winner of this fight could very well be Chiesa. The striking's close and competitive. The wrestling's Chiesa. The pure grappling's probably Brady, but it's close. But I'm going to take the more experienced guy with Chiesa here. On top of that, Brady is coming off of an injury as well. So, yep, give me Chiesa here for the upset, and give me Chiesa to win by decision. Another dog. And now we have the main event. Just want to remind you guys that me and Uncle Weezy went live on Monday, breaking down this main event, talked it through from a betting perspective as well. So yeah, go check that out if you have not yet. But we have a interesting fight here. Is it main event worthy? Not really, but it should be okay. We have Miesha Tate going against Ketlen Vieira. We have Miesha Tate, 35 years old, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach, 19-7, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Ketlen Vieira, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach, 11-2, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Ketlen Vieira opened up -160. She's now -115. Tate opened up +140. She is now -105. So I do want to get into some stats on this fight. I did not really talk about much stats on this card because there's not really a ton of sample sizes to look at. But this one we have a decent sample size. So Miesha Tate, she lands 2.13 significant strikes per minute, 42% accuracy, absorbing 2.68 with a negative 0.55 significant strike differential and a 51% striking defense. As far as Ketlen Vieira, she does land 2.66 significant strikes per minute with a 36% accuracy, absorbing 3.84 with a negative 1.18 significant strike differential and a 53% striking defense. So in terms of the striking, like it's pretty close to me. Miesha Tate, back in the day, her striking was not all that great, but she comes back about almost 5 years later since she fought Raquel Pennington against Mara Renault, and I thought Tate's striking looked a lot improved in that fight. I know it's Mara Renault, but still she was able to outland Renault 32-15 at distance, so that was good to see. As far as Ketlen Vieira, I think her striking's okay. She does get outlanded in a lot of her fights, but that's because she takes these fighters down and she just kind of lays on them. Like in the Yana fight, Yana outlands Vieira 47-7. In her UFC debut, she gets outlanded 44-13, but she does get 4 takedowns. So numbers can be a little bit skewed in that aspect, but still. We see that Vieira looked solid against a good striker, and Eubanks outlands, she doesn't outland Eubanks, but she does get outlanded by only 1 against Eubanks there. I thought her striking looked solid. So yeah, the striking's close. If I had to give a striking advantage to one fighter, it's probably Vieira, but like ever so slightly, especially considering the improvements that Tate seemed to have made. As far as the wrestling goes, this is where it gets really interesting for this fight. So Ketlen Vieira does land 2.19 takedowns per 15 minutes, and she has a 48% accuracy. She also has a 92% takedown defense. I think that's very important. Miesha Tate lands 2.16 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 32% accuracy, and she has a 52% takedown defense. So I think the big thing here is, Vieira's takedown defense is phenomenal. The only fighter that did take her down was Sarah McMahon, and she kind of like flopped to her back willingly, so I really don't even count that. Her takedown defense is very, very good. So I really struggle to see Miesha Tate getting this fight down to the mat at least early, and I feel like if Vieira wants to get this fight down to the mat, she absolutely can, as Tate does have that 52% takedown defense. This is a very close fight and a very tough fight to call, but I think what does it for me is the fact that this is a 5-round fight. Miesha Tate has, been in a 5-round fight before. Ketlen Vieira has not been in a 5-round fight before. And you take a look at Ketlen Vieira, and she's slowing down badly against Yana Kunitsukai in that 3rd round. If that fight was 5 rounds, she would have lost. She got cut up bad at the end of that 3rd round against Yana. Against Ciara Eubanks, I expected Eubanks to slow down, as she usually does, but no. It was Eubanks that wins the 3rd round against Ketlen Vieira. So yeah, I don't like that, especially in a 5-round fight. So I see Vieira having a lot of success early, stuffing the takedowns of Tate. Striking's competitive. Maybe Vieira takes down Tate. But I think as the fight goes on, Vieira is going to slow down more and more. And if Vieira does not finish Tate early, I see Tate taking over and potentially getting a late finish herself. So actually, I'm going to take Tate here, who has another slight dog. And I'm going to take her for the win. I'm going to take her to win by give me like a 4th or 5th round, like a TKO or a sub. I think Vieira is going to be too tired. Because just seeing how she looks in the 3rd rounds of some of these fights against Eubanks, Yana, fighters like that, I think it's a Tate late round finish is very, very live for her. So I'm going to take Miesha Tate to win. Give me like a 4th or 5th round, late round stoppage here for Tate. But yeah, it's a close fight because I do see Tate losing early on. Maybe a good live betting opportunity for Tate here. But yeah, those are the picks. Like I said, picking a lot of dogs, there's going to be a ton of disagreement. It's okay to disagree, but just be cool about it. Some guys get a little bit too crazy about it. But yeah, picking a lot of dogs. I have a ton of bets. A bet on every single fight outside of one. Looking to bounce back here in a big, big way. So yeah, guys, that's about it. As always, thank you for all the support. You guys are awesome. Please smash that like button. It'd be much appreciated. Subscribe here to the channel. Content coming out throughout the week. DraftKings content, betting content, all that good stuff. and we will talk to you very soon. Good luck for UFC Vegas 43. Let's make some money this week. See you guys.